Okay, so a psychologist claims that less than 21% of the population suffers from professional problems. That's a lot of P's there. Professional problems due to extreme shyness. Assuming that a hypothesis test to support this claim at the 0.05 significance level has been conducted and that the p-value came out to be 0.0725, what's the conclusion? So notice what I'm testing on this question is your understanding of p-value and conclusions. You don't even have to push a button, right? They already did the test. They're giving us the p-value. We don't have to push any buttons. We don't have to run any numbers on this question. It's just about understanding the words. But that's sometimes the hardest part, and it's for sure the most important, because real life, this is the main benefit of this class to you in real life, is you'll read statistical studies. You're probably not going to do your own statistical studies unless you get into a research position, but you will, all of us will read data and hear data, right? We're in the information age. They're always pouring data at us. We will read and hear data, and so we want to understand things. All right, how do we do it? Well, on every hypothesis test, you must start with the claim. What's being claimed?
Less than 21%.
There it is, less than 21, less than 21%. That's a percentage, right? So it's P less than 0.21. That's what's being claimed. All right, so let's do the HO and the H1. So what is HO always?
Equal.
Always, yes. Always equals, right? And so then remember, one of the two, either HO or H1, must match the claim, right? So therefore, it's got to be H1 because HO doesn't match the claim. So I'm going to write claim right here. Everybody good there? Everybody see? So that stuff matters. Make sure you can do what I just did, that you know which one to write on the claim, that you know how to start with the claim and write HO and H1. That's super important. Is that making sense? I wrote it out here for you on the notes somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Right, on how to go through it, right? You write the claim from the words, and then an HO is always equals. And then either HO or H1 must be the same as the claim. Option 1, if the claim is equals, that was not us. We were option 2. Our claim was what? Greater than or less than, I can't even remember which one now, but it was one of these two, right? Therefore, H1 is the claim. And so that's all there for you. All right, so again, back to it. So the claim was less than, and HO is always equals, and one of these two has to be the same as the claim. Therefore, it had to be H1, didn't it? Because HO was equals and the claim was less than, so it had to be on H1. Okay, great. So what now? Well, then they're giving us the, they're telling us the significance level is 0.05 and the p-value is 0.0725. So the p-value came out to be 0.0725. And then the alpha 0.05 significance level. Right? And remember what you're supposed to do to draw a conclusion. You're supposed to see if the p-value is higher or lower than the alpha. So you guys tell me, is the p-value higher or lower than the alpha?
Higher.
Yeah, it's clearly greater. 0.7 is greater than 0.5. Yeah, p-value is greater. All right, so what does that mean? Well, again, you can go back to the notes. That's why I provided these for you. And that's going to be option 2 right there. Let me bring it over where I can write on it for you. So it's going to be option 2. There it is. Oops, got her wompy. All right, option 2. And that says P is not low, meaning when P is greater, P is not low. Here's the saying, when P is not low, the null must not go, right? That's our catchy saying that I hope is helping you. When the p is not low because it's greater, then the null must not go. This means that when the p-value is not low, it's greater, the null HO must not go away. That is, we fail to reject the null and instead we keep the null. So that's us in this situation, right? So let's write that out. P, or here, I don't want to mess up the words. I'll write it over here. P is not low. It's greater. So HO does not go away. We keep HO, don't we? We're keeping HO. So in this test, we're going to keep this one. We're going to keep HO. Oh, and I forgot to write the evidence. Remember how the evidence is always weak evidence for HO, strong evidence for H1, right? We always write that. That's in the notes. If you look back to the notes, you'll see it. You always write weak evidence by HO because it always takes weak evidence for HO and strong evidence to prove H1. Just like a court of law, you assume innocent. If evidence is weak, you're going to stay with innocent. But if evidence is strong beyond a reasonable doubt, that's why that's in the law. That's their way of saying strong evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, then you convict. Okay, so same thing for our hypothesis test. So what did we go with? HO, which means evidence is weak. We're concluding HO, we're keeping HO, right? HO does not go away. We keep HO because the P was not low, P was greater. So we keep HO. The evidence must have been weak. All right, let's read through the options. There is sufficient evidence. Is that right? Is there sufficient evidence? No, there's not, right? There's weak evidence. Sufficient means enough, right? If something is sufficient, it's enough. There's not enough evidence. The evidence is weak. How do we know? Because we went with HO. We're keeping HO. Whenever you keep HO, that means it's because the evidence is weak. Let's try the next one. There is not sufficient. Yeah, not sufficient. Yeah, it's got to be one of those two. Get rid of this one. So it's not sufficient. So it's one of those two. Which one? Well, let's read on. Therefore, we conclude that the true proportion is less than. And this one says, therefore, we conclude true proportion is not less than. Which one do we conclude? Do we conclude less than or not less than?
It's not less than.
Yeah, right? Again, we're concluding HO not less than, right? Equals. This is our option. This is wrong right there. We conclude that the P is equals. It's not less than, right? We did not go with the H1, which said less than. We did not go that way. We kept HO. Why? Because evidence was weak. Is that good? Questions on that?